Hi, I'm Chuck Berman. Someone asked me recently, how do you put a frame on an image like this? The frame is going to be a sloppy border. Now, I've already got the sloppy border. That's on this picture right here. You can see it's a sloppy border with the white border around the outside, and the sloppy border itself is black. And of course, I'm transparent on the inside. And what I want to do is I want to apply it to this image. However, when I apply it to the image, I don't want it to be black. I want it to pick up the colors, or at least some of the colors, in the image. So how do I go about doing that? Well, it's easy. The first thing that I do is I come over here to my frame image, and I'm going to select my move tool right here, and I'm just going to drag this to my other image. Now, if I have two windows open, I just drag it from one window to the other. If, on the other hand, I'm using tabs like this, I just take the image and drag it to the tab of the new image, and I'll just put it in just like that. Now, I can see, first of all, that this is way, way, way too big, so I need to resize it. And the way that I resize it is I come up here to the Edit menu and I go down to Free Transform, or I could use the keyboard shortcut Command or Control T. Now what I need to do is grab the corners of the selection here and shrink the image down and resize it so that it's square. Well, I can't see the corners because this image is way too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my Command or Control 0, which will allow me to see everything here. Let me cover up the rest of this mess out here, just so it won't be distracting. And now I can drag my corner and just bring this frame down to where I need it to be. Let's just bring this in like this. Now, of course, this image is pretty small right now, so I need to make it a little bit bigger. And I can make it bigger just by hitting or holding down my Command or my Control key and tapping on the plus. So here we'll be making this bigger so that we can see it. Now I can easily go in and resize where I want my black sloppy border to be. Let's bring this in like this. Bring this up a little bit, cover some of this area like that. There. So there's our sloppy border. Let's maybe bring this in just a little bit more. Good. Now I hit my Enter key just to save that, and you can see that I have a separate layer here with my frame on it. Now, what I'm going to do is, since I want that frame to be the same color as the image down here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide my layer 0 here, the layer with the image on it. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to make sure that my layer with the frame is highlighted. And I'm going to go up and I'm going to select this white area. The way I do that is I go to Select, Color Range, and it opens this window up. Let's bring our fuzziness down here. I click on my eyedropper and I just click in the white area, and you can see that that's being selected. And what I'm going to do is let's move our fuzziness over to make sure that we get all of that. Okay, so now I click OK, and you can see that the white area has been selected. So what I want to do now is I just want to delete that white area, so I can click on my Delete key and you can see that it got rid of that area. Okay. Now I'm going to hide my selection, or actually I'm going to remove my selection by holding down the Command or Control key and tapping the D, and I'm going to open up my bottom layer again. So now that you can see, I've got this black frame around my image, but I want the frame to be pink. So how do I do that? Well, I come over here to my color picker and I bring that up, and I just go out into the background here and I select the color of pink that I want to use for the flower. And you can see that goes into my foreground color. So I'm right there. And now what I'm going to do is, just for the sake of illustration, I don't actually have to hide this layer, but I'm going to hide the layer. And I'm going to take the layer with the frame on it, and I'm going to lock the transparency, just like that. And now I'm going to go over to the Edit menu, and I'm going to fill the contents using the foreground color, which is the pink. And there's my pink frame. And now all I have to do is show my layer down below, and there's my sloppy border right on my image. Now, what if you wanted a border that's not quite that color? You wanted to alter the color just a little bit. Well, that's easy to do. We can go up here to our layer 1, and we can go in and use an adjustment layer. I'll hold my Alt or Option key down, and then I will select Hue Saturation. There we go. And I will use the previous layer to create a clipping mask. So that way, any changes that I make will only be done on the frame layer. And now I can come in and I can change the color of that. You can see the color of the border is changing. I can change that a little bit and fine-tune it to where I want it to be. So there's my border, and I'm finished. That's all I need to do. You can see now that I've backed up to a point where I started before, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something a little differently. What if you didn't want to have the solid pink border? What if you wanted to have the flower petals themselves make the sloppy border? Well, let me show you how to do that. First, I'm going to delete the image so that all we see is our sloppy border and the white, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to make the same selection that I did before using color range. And I'm just going to click OK here. But this time, rather than deleting the white, I want to delete the black. How do I do that? Well, I go up to my Select menu and I choose Inverse. So now that everything but the white is selected, and now I can go in and just hit my Delete key, and you can see that the black has been deleted. Now I'm going to deselect my selection just by hitting my Command or Control D, like that, and I can bring my image back up. Well, I still have a sharp border on it, so what I'm going to do now is, with this layer 1, which contains my border selected, I'm going to hit my shortcut for Command or Control T, which will allow me to do my transform. And now all I do is I bring the border down to where I need it, to where I want it. So I'll just bring it in like this so that you can see that I've created my sloppy border, and this time the image itself is creating the border. Now I'll lock this in by just hitting my Enter key, and there is my sloppy border using the image itself to bound the border.